The night sky above Earth was quiet, but deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient and powerful began to wake. In the black holes of a hidden military base, rows of screens glowed with strange readings. Engineers whispered to each other, their faces pale. Generators roared like thunder, and the ocean above trembled. Humanity had built many weapons before, but never like this. They called it Project Thor Railgun. It was not a missile, not a bomb, but a giant magnetic cannon buried under miles of rock and salt water. It could launch a metal slug faster than light itself, or so the scientists claimed. No one really knew what would happen when it fired. Some said it would destroy the enemy. Others feared it would destroy Earth. In the control room stood Commander Elias Reeves. His face was rough, his uniform soaked with sweat. He had not slept for days. All around him, officers were shouting numbers, monitoring energy levels, and updating the countdown timer that ticked down like a heartbeat. "Power the core," Reeves said quietly. His voice carried through the room like a command from another world. The order spread through the base. Massive cables pulsed with light. The reactor deep below began to scream, a high, endless sound that made the air shake. Across the Pacific, satellites blinked out one by one. Power grids failed in entire cities. In orbit, hundreds of alien ships watched. They were from the Varan Dominion, a powerful empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. To them, Earth was a small, noisy world full of emotional creatures that fought too much and dreamed too big. They had come to teach humans their place. The Varan commander, Admiral Zirak, leaned back in his throne-like chair. His voice was cold. "So this is the famous human defense project? A magnetic toy at the bottom of an ocean?" He laughed. His officers joined him. But far below, the hum grew louder. Human scientists in white suits checked their instruments. Dr. Hannah Lee, one of the engineers, stared at the main console. "If we push beyond 70%, she warned, the magnetic field will crush itself. We'll cause a chain reaction. We'll lose everything." Commander Reeves looked at her. His eyes were calm but tired. "We already lost Mars," he said. "We already lost Titan. If we lose this, there won't be anything left to protect." He turned back to the window, a thick glass panel that showed the glowing heart of the machine. Inside, the rail coils spun with violent blue energy, twisting space itself. It was as if the ocean had turned into lightning. On the surface of Earth, civilians gathered near their screens, unsure what was coming. Some prayed, some recorded messages to loved ones. Everyone felt it, the world holding its breath. A young soldier stepped forward. "Commander, charge sequence ready." "Do it," Reeves said, charging. The lights dimmed. Every electronic device in the base flickered. Outside, the ocean began to boil. Seismic monitors screamed warnings, but no one stopped. In orbit, alien sensors lit up. The readings made no sense. A single human weapon was producing more energy than an entire fleet's arsenal. Admiral Zirak frowned. "What are they doing?" An officer replied, "Sir, the magnetic field is growing beyond measurable scale. Impossible." Zirak stood and stared at Earth. For the first time, he felt a trace of unease. Back in the human base, alarms blared. The energy core was overloading. The weapon was seconds from collapse. Dr. Lee shouted, "Commander, if we don't release now, it'll detonate underground." Reeves stared at the countdown. The last few seconds flashed red. He whispered to himself, "For every city they burned, for every child they left in the dark." He raised his hand. Fire. A deep, inhuman sound tore through the earth. The entire planet seemed to shudder. Every mountain, every ocean, every cloud froze for a heartbeat. Then from the depths of the Pacific, a single streak of blue light erupted into the sky. It was not fire. It was not light. It was something else, something raw and violent that bent the air around it. The projectile left the atmosphere in an instant, slicing through clouds and leaving a glowing path across the heavens. People across the world saw it. From deserts to space stations, every eye turned toward the blue streak that cut across the stars. In orbit, the alien fleet saw it coming. They tried to move. They could not. Sensors jammed, engines failed, and communication went silent. The Vahran commander screamed orders, but his voice was lost in static. The projectile hit. There was no explosion. No sound, just light. A flash so bright it blinded entire systems. When it faded, the Vahran flagship was gone. Nothing remained. Not wreckage, not dust. Only emptiness. On Earth, silence followed. The lights in the base flickered back to life. Men and women stared at their screens, speechless. Commander Reeves stood still, his reflection glowing in the glass. "Is it over?" a soldier whispered. Reeves did not answer. He walked toward the main console and placed his hand on it. The machine still hummed, low and deep, like something alive. Far above, alien outposts across nearby star systems fell silent one by one. Their signals stopped. Their fleets froze in orbit, afraid to move. Across the galaxy, communication networks buzzed with confusion and fear. For the first time in galactic history, the stars had gone quiet. On Earth, the commander turned to his crew. "Record this moment," he said softly, "because the galaxy will remember it forever." The ocean calmed above the hidden base. The sky was peaceful again, but in that peace, there was something new. Something colder than fear. The universe had just witnessed the birth of a new kind of power, and humanity stood alone in the silence it created. The blue beam tore across the void faster than light, a silent ripple of energy that no one could track. On distant planets, astronomers watched their instruments go dark. The readings made no sense. A single object, launched from a small blue world, was bending the laws of physics. In the Vahran Dominion's war headquarters, alarms screamed. Red symbols flooded the screens. The Supreme Overseer of the Dominion, Zyrath Kyle, stared at the data in disbelief. "How can their projectile be this fast?" he demanded. His scientists said nothing. They were too frightened to speak. Seconds later, the unthinkable happened. The Vahran flagship, the largest vessel ever built, pride of their empire, vanished. One instant it floated above Earth like a black moon. The next it was gone, replaced by a shimmering hole of twisted light. No explosion, no debris, just silence. Millions of soldiers across the fleet froze. They did not understand what they had seen. The Vahran had destroyed worlds before. They had crushed entire species. Yet a single human weapon had erased their strongest ship without a sound. Across the stars, every listening post, every trade station, every empire felt the shock. The data spread faster than fear itself. Messages carried the same words. Humanity fired something. The Vahran flagship is gone. Do not approach Earth. On the moon base, Commander Reeves watched the live feed fade to static. The control room was filled with blue light from the monitors. His soldiers stared at him, waiting. No one spoke. Dr. Hunley's voice trembled. "Commander, the readings are beyond scale. The projectile didn't just destroy the ship. It erased it." Reeves turned to her. "Erased? There's nothing left, sir. Not even particles. It's as if the flagship never existed." He looked through the observation window. The night sky above Earth was calm again. But he knew peace would not last. "Then it worked," he said quietly. "Now they know." Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy did not sleep. On the distant world of Arthis, news anchors tried to explain what had happened. One called it an energy anomaly. Another called it divine punishment. But among the common people, a rumor spread. A rumor that the humans had awakened a weapon that could silence suns. In the halls of the Galactic Council, fear became law. Representatives of dozens of alien races gathered, shouting over one another. "The humans have broken the cosmic code," one ambassador roared. "A single railgun cannot erase matter." "They have discovered something forbidden," said another. "We must unite before they fire again." But the council was already divided. Some wanted peace, some wanted war. Some simply wanted to hide. A frail voice rose above the noise. It belonged to Elder Naru of the Krill species, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. His words were slow but heavy. "You fools! Do you not understand? The silence we hear is not theirs, it is ours. Humanity has made us listen." Back on Earth, Reeves stood alone on the observation deck. Through the thick glass, he watched the calm ocean above the base. The railgun chamber was quiet now, its coils cooling, its core flickering like dying embers. Dr. Lee joined him. "Do you think they'll retaliate?" she asked. Reeves shook his head. "They'll wait. They'll watch, and they'll fear what we might do next." For the next few hours, the world held its breath. Every telescope turned toward the stars. Every satellite waited for a counterattack. But none came. The galaxy, once loud with signals and transmissions, was suddenly still. The silence stretched for days. Ships that had been orbiting Earth retreated without a word. Alien patrols vanished from human space. No warnings, no threats, just absence. In one distant sector, a small cargo ship belonging to the Vahran tried to send a message back to its home planet. The transmission never arrived. The crew disappeared. The galaxy's trade networks began to break down as routes near human space were abandoned. Across the universe, the message spread faster than any weapon ever could. Do not provoke the humans. They silenced the stars once. They can do it again. On the fourth night, Reeves received a report from Earth's Global Defense Network. It showed thousands of intercepted alien communications, all repeating one new law. By order of the Galactic Dominion, no vessel is to enter human space. No signal is to be sent. No contact is to be made. Dr. Lee stared at the message. "They're isolating us," Reeves smiled faintly. "No, they're isolating themselves." He turned off the screen and looked up at the stars. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood alone and untouchable. But peace was not what Reeves felt. It was something colder, something that crawled under his skin. The weapon had worked too well. The galaxy's silence was not respect. It was terror. In a small town outside London, a boy looked up at the sky and asked his mother, "Did we win the war?" She hugged him tightly, unsure how to answer. In truth, there was no war left to fight. There was only fear. Weeks later, Reeves received a single encrypted transmission from deep space. It contained no name, no signature, only a short message written in broken galactic code. "You have changed everything. They will never forget." Reeves read it twice, then deleted it. The Railgun had done more than destroy a fleet. It had rewritten humanity's place in the universe. Outside, the stars burned quietly, their light stretching across the dark. But every intelligent race that saw them now felt something new, a pulse of dread behind the beauty. The galaxy had always thought of humans as fragile creatures of emotion and chaos. But that night, they learned something far more dangerous. Humans were not chaotic. They were patient, and patience, the galaxy realized, was the scariest weapon of all. The galaxy had never been so quiet. Trade beacons flickered out. Patrols vanished from their usual routes. Stations that once buzzed with chatter now drifted in uneasy silence. Even the stars felt colder. The shot from Earth had done more than destroy a fleet. It had shattered balance across the cosmos. No empire wanted to admit it aloud, but all of them feared one truth. Humanity had changed the rules of war. On the world of Vareth Prime, the Varan Dominion's council met in shadows. Their capital was once filled with arrogance and light. Now the air was thick with tension. Generals and ministers stood around a table shaped like a broken circle. None wanted to speak first. "The humans are unstable," one commander said. "They will fire again. We must destroy them before they become stronger," another shook his head. "Destroy them? You saw what one weapon did. What happens if they have 10? Silence fell again. Fear twisted their words. Even in the outer colonies, children whispered tales of Earth, the cursed world that silenced fleets. Merchants refused to trade near Sol. Cargo routes shifted thousands of light years away. The humans had not sent any threat, no signal, no word. Yet their silence was louder than any weapon. Far from the Dominion's heart, a single alien vessel cut through the darkness. Its pilot, envoy Shira of the Lume species, had made her decision against her government's orders. She was small, thin, with skin like glass and veins that glowed faintly when she was nervous. And right now, she glowed brighter than ever. Her ship's sensors screamed warnings as she entered restricted space. Human space. Her people called it the Dead Zone. No ship had entered since the railgun fired. None had returned. Still, Shira whispered to herself, I must see them. She had read everything the galaxy recorded about humans, their wars, their peace, their strange kindness. They were fragile yet impossible to erase. To Shira, they were a mystery the galaxy did not deserve to fear. When her ship entered orbit, she saw the scars Earth carried. Vast lines of heat still glowed under the oceans where the weapon had fired. Clouds twisted into strange shapes above magnetic storms. The blue planet looked wounded, but alive. As she approached, automated defenses locked onto her craft. Dozens of satellites turned in her direction. A human voice came through the static. Identify yourself. She swallowed hard. I am Shira of the Lume Union. I come without weapons. I seek understanding. There was a pause. The silence stretched for several seconds, maybe longer. Then the voice replied, proceed to the Pacific coordinates. You will be escorted. Hours later, Shira stood in a room made of steel and silence. Around her were human soldiers, their eyes cold but curious. At the far end stood Commander Elias Reeves. His face looked older, heavier. You are the first outsider to step on Earth since the firing, Reeves said. His tone was steady but distant. I had to come, Shira said softly. The galaxy fears you, but fear is often a shadow of ignorance. I want to know why you built that weapon. Reeves studied her for a long time. You want the truth? Yes. He walked toward a large window overlooking the ocean. The railgun's tower rose from the water like a black mountain. Lightning danced along its sides, feeding from the planet's magnetic pulse. We built it, Reeves said, because we were losing. The Dominion burned our colonies. They enslaved our outposts. Every message we sent for peace came back in fire. So we made a choice. We decided if we were going to die, we would make the galaxy remember us. Shira listened in silence. The weight in his words chilled her. But, he continued, when we fired it and saw the silence afterward, I realized we had done more than defend ourselves. We had frightened the universe. Shira's eyes softened. Perhaps the universe needed to be frightened. Reeves gave a faint smile. Maybe, but fear spreads faster than truth. Later, Shira walked along the railgun's observation deck. The human scientists moved around her, repairing, recalibrating, rebuilding. Yet their faces did not show victory, only exhaustion. She approached Dr. Hannah Lee, who was studying energy readings. Your weapon, it could destroy any fleet. Why do you not use it again? Dr. Lee looked up, her face pale in the artificial light. Because it nearly destroyed us too. That shot burned half the ocean's crust. The magnetic backlash disrupted our own planet's field for days. We survived by chance, Shira frowned. So the galaxy fears a weapon you can barely control, Lee nodded. Yes, but we will not tell them that. Before she left, Shira recorded a message for her people. She looked straight into the lens and spoke slowly, clearly. Humans are not monsters. They are survivors. They do not seek war, but when cornered, they will burn the sky to defend their right to exist. Do not mistake their silence for weakness. It is a warning. She sent the message into the stars, even though she knew her government would block it. Somewhere someone would hear. As her ship rose through the clouds, she looked down one last time. Earth glowed beneath her, fragile and scarred, but alive. Reeves watched her leave from the base window. Dr. Lee joined him. Do you think anyone will believe her? Reeves shook his head. No, they'll call her a traitor or a fool. But in time, maybe they'll understand. He looked at the stars again. Fear won't last forever, but silence will. In the endless dark beyond, Shira's message traveled through thousands of systems. Some who heard it trembled. Others began to wonder. But one thing became clear. Humanity's name was no longer just a warning. It had become a legend. Decades passed, yet the memory of that single shot still haunted the stars. The night sky had never returned to what it once was. In every corner of the galaxy, people spoke the same quiet words, words carried like ghosts between planets. Do not provoke the humans. The mighty Varan Dominion no longer ruled. Fear had rotted its heart from within. Empires that once stood proud had torn themselves apart in panic. blaming one another for the silence spreading from Seoul. Borders vanished. Fleets turned on their own allies, but Earth remained silent. No transmissions, no fleets, no expansion. Humanity simply stayed where it was, rebuilding among its ruins, speaking to no one. That silence became something powerful, something far beyond weapons. It became myth. On the desert moon of Irkai, a group of alien scholars gathered around a flickering hollow screen. Among them sat an old Lume woman, Shira, now older, her light dim but her voice still steady. She was telling the young about what she had seen. They never spoke again, she said. Not to threaten, not to conquer. They simply stopped talking. One student asked timidly, "But why, Elder? Why stay silent when the galaxy now fears them?" Shira smiled softly. "Because true power does not shout. It whispers and lets others tremble." Outside, Irkai's night sky shimmered with falling debris from yet another war between alien factions. None of those fleets dared to cross the invisible line that marked human space. Even now, after so many years, no one truly knew what Earth had become. Across human space, things were different. Cities gleamed again, oceans healed, and new colonies rose on Mars and Luna. The railgun that had changed history stood quiet, its massive coils cold, but never forgotten. Commander Elias Reeves was gone, but his statue watched over the railgun's chamber. Beneath it, engraved in iron, were his final words. "We spoke once, and the galaxy listened." That was enough. Dr. Hana Lee, now in charge of Earth's Defense Council, stood before that statue each year during the Night of Silence, the anniversary of the shot. She had seen how the galaxy reacted. She had watched entire empires destroy themselves out of fear of a planet that no longer answered calls. Her assistant approached. "Ma'am, new transmission from the Outer Rim. Another warning?" she asked. He hesitated. "No, ma'am, it's..." A plea. Lee frowned. "Play it!" The audio came through, cracked and broken, a voice full of static and desperation. "This is the Harkoon Collective. We beg for contact. The Dominion is gone. Trade is gone. Our worlds are starving. Please, humanity, if you can hear this, answer us." The room fell silent. Dozens of officers waited. All eyes turned to Dr. Lee. She stood still, remembering Reeves's words, remembering the ocean's glow, remembering what fear had bought them, peace. Then she gave the order. No reply. The message faded, and Earth remained silent. Beyond the rim, chaos deepened. Empires that once ruled thousands of worlds now ruled none. Paranoia consumed them. The few who dared to send probes near Earth found nothing but empty static and vanished without a trace. It was said the humans had built hundreds more railguns, hidden across their solar system, orbiting their star like sleeping giants. Some believed the weapons could fire through hyperspace, destroying entire planets. No one dared to test that theory. A century later, in a deep archive beneath a dying world, two historians spoke in whispers. "Do you think they still exist?" One asked, the other nodded. "Exist? Yes, but they are no longer like us. Their silence changed them." He pointed to a faded star map, the solar system circled in red. "We shouted across the galaxy. We begged for attention. And what did it bring us? War. They, the humans, chose silence, and the galaxy destroyed itself trying to fill it." For a moment, the lights in the archive flickered. The old man's voice dropped to a trembling whisper. "Some say their silence is not emptiness. It's waiting." Meanwhile, in the black sea of space, a small drone drifted near Neptune's orbit. It was old, centuries old, but still functional. Its sensors suddenly flickered to life, detecting a burst of strange energy from deep within the solar system. A hum began, faint, measured, familiar. The drone tried to transmit data back to its base, but before it could finish the signal, a pulse of magnetic force erased it from existence. The hum continued for a few seconds more, then stopped. On Earth, hidden under the Pacific, the ancient railgun powered itself once again. Lights crawled along its black metal surface, like veins awakening. But this time, there was no countdown, no soldiers, no command, only an automated voice echoing through the empty chamber. "System integrity check complete. Primary charge stable. Awaiting confirmation." No one gave the order. The system simply waited. Above the planet, the stars glittered, distant, cautious witnesses. The galaxy listened, terrified to hear that sound again, but the shot never came. Humanity had learned something greater than vengeance. They had learned patience, an endless, calculated patience that frightened even the void itself. On the world of Irkai, Shira, now ancient, her body weak and fading, looked up at the same stars she had once traveled through. Her students sat quietly around her. "Elder," one asked softly, "what happens when the silence ends?" Shira smiled faintly. "Then the galaxy will finally learn what it feared all along." Her eyes turned toward the dark horizon where Earth's star glimmered faintly. "Because silence," she whispered, "is never forever." And so, in the boundless black between galaxies, humanity waited, watching, listening. No empire dared to speak their name. No fleet dared to test their patience. The galaxy had fallen silent once, and the silence had a master: humanity.